look good for being 160 years old, right?
I'm in Sonoma today, and I'm here with Clay Mauritson, and Clay is the owner of Mauritson Wines. Is it Mauritson Wines or Mauritson Vineyards?
Mauritson Wines.
Wow, I got that right.
Yeah, we have the vineyards is a totally separate operation. More to come on that.
Now, you're kind of a young-looking guy, and I see this. It says 1868, so I'm not buying that whole bit that you've been here all this time. Tell me.
Red wine, the fountain of youth, right? I mean, come on.
Oh, I got it.
I look good for being 160 years old,
Yeah,
right?
you're not kidding. And you came up with that so quickly. You have to modify that every year. So tell me about the history of the property or your name with the winery.
So my family is one of the oldest grape growing families in Sonoma County. We've been growing grapes here since 1868. We were Swedish immigrants, homesteaded our first piece of property in what is now Rockpile in 1868. And me and my siblings represent the sixth generation of my family to farm that property. But the important distinction there is that we'd always been just farmers or grape growers. The winery is relatively new in our family legacy.
And you said 2004 is when you opened this.
We opened the facility in 2004. I started the brand in 1998. So like so many startups, we started really small, very conservatively, leased space at another facility, made our wines there, custom crushed, if you will. And then when I think my parents realized that this wasn't just a crazy pipe dream, that the potential was there for us to do something truly iconic, then we jumped in with both feet and built the facility.
So your parents are part of the process still. Obviously, it's a family thing, but...
They are. I often joke that, I barely own the shirt on my back. And so my family, don't get me wrong, we're typical farmers, and farmers are land rich, cash poor, as the saying goes. And so there was no way that I was going to be able to finance this, on my own. So my parents were incredibly supportive in it. But contrary to popular belief, it wasn't like they had a gold mine to dip into. And that was something that was a pretty big fundamental shift for our family to make this journey, endeavor, if you will, to switch courses really is, as a farmer, you never risk your land. There's nothing more sacred than the land. And that was what we had to do, is we had to collateralize a piece of property to create the capital to start the winery. So because my parents were the ones that owned the land and, were allowed us to put that land up for collateral for the project, they've been hugely involved in what we do. It was scary. Yeah. I often think, there's no way in hell I'd do this knowing what I know now.
Oh, boy.
The ignorance of youth, right?
Yeah. I'm going to come back to this room. I'm sure our viewers are looking at us going, whoa, this is interesting looking. But before I do that, growing up in this family, was it preordained that you would end up in wine, or was it, how did that come out?
Yeah.
Or did you try and run away like somebody else?
I tried to run away. I have always been what I like to say is the black sheep of the family. My parents said left, I went right. My whole family was 49ers fans. I was a Raiders fan. I was the contrarian, sometimes just so to be. My brothers were the good boys. I have three brothers and a sister. My three brothers all went off and got viticulture degrees with the sole intention of coming back and working in the family business. I had spent way too much of my childhood picking grapes and pulling leaves and tying vines, and realized that the grass had to be greener on the other side of the fence. When I say other side of the fence, I meant outside of the wine industry.
Sure.
I went to school to play football. I majored in marketing and minored in finance. Absolutely nothing to do with wine. But as the saying goes, sometimes in life you just don't know what you have till it's gone. And it took me getting away from California to appreciate what an amazing place this is to be born and raised. And also, I needed to get away from my family. I needed to gain some distance to create perspective, to truly appreciate what it means to be a sixth generation anything in this country. Not to mention sixth generation farmer who was farming grapes, which come to find out are pretty cool. I was almost, I won't say embarrassed, but, it was a very blue collar upbringing. Some would even say, a step below that. And all of a sudden you go to college and you're sheepish because you meet kids from these very diverse backgrounds and their parents are doctors and lawyers, and you kind of under your breath mention that you were a grape farmer, and their eyes opened up like, oh my gosh, you're in the wine business? And I never realized, how special and really incredible that was.
All of a sudden, you're cool.
All of a sudden, you're cool. And so, like I said, I needed that perspective to appreciate what my family had done for all those generations. So, no, I was not destined to go into the wine business. I needed to find a very indirect path, which led me back to it.
How many acres are you farming?
The winery, again, important distinction. The winery is totally separate operation from the vineyard operation. So we at the winery have a couple leases that we manage, but they're pretty small, so maybe about 7 acres that we control fully. That would be, considered truly estate fruit. My brothers on the farming side farm around 900 acres of vineyard.
Oh, that's a pretty good size.
It's a pretty good size chunk of land. It keeps them busy. It keeps them out of my hair.
Do they have a piece in this business?
They are. They're partners in the winery. All my siblings are partners in the winery, and then I'm a partner in some of the vineyard operations. So there's definitely a cross-pollination there. And as we like to say, when I don't tell them how to grow grapes and they don't tell how to make wine, we actually get along fairly well.
Where'd you go to school?
I went to the University of Oregon, is where I did my undergraduate, where I, like I said, majored in marketing, minored in finance. And then I did what UC Davis used to call their certificate course in winemaking. So it was an incredible program that allowed you to continue to working. And basically, I joke, you get the biggest box of VHS tapes you've ever seen. And I'm dating myself now, right?
Yeah, VHS, I've heard that before.
Yeah. And you got to watch the lectures on VHS. And so it was perfect for someone like me. I'd say it was the precursor to online schooling.
Okay, I have to come to the room here. This is just outside your cellar, or it's part of the cellar. Yep. It's distinctly separate. The first thing, of course, when I came in was the doors, which were basically barrel-type doors, which were very creative. I've never seen anything like that. They're barn door types.
They are. We have the beautiful upright oak tanks in the cellar right next to this room that are hugely important to our winemaking style, not only in our red wines, but also our Sauvignon Blanc. Allows for oxidation during fermentation. And we wanted this room to be aspirational. It may sound far-fetched, but we wanted it to be somewhat secretive and very special. And so we didn't want it to be obvious what it was. So I have an extremely talented cousin who is in the metal fabrication business, and he built the doors from us from scratch. And so, you had to get the right oak to match the tanks. You had to have the strapping on the tanks to match the doors. And so really awesome. I mean, we truly keep everything in the family. And so 99% of the people that walk into the cellar never know this room is there because it just blends in with the landscape of the room.
Right. And the inside doors, actually, it's a couple of feet worth of gap between them, which makes it more interesting.
And so, when you roll back that barn door, as you said, there's that kind of wow factor, that aspirational, holy cow, where did this come from? And we always say, you want people to be like, how do I get to go in there?
Yeah. So I'm guessing, would this be your library room? Do you have personal wine in here? What do you have stored in here?
Yes and yes. So, I've joked many times that for all of the mistakes I've made starting and running a business for the last 26 years, one of the things that we've done a really good job of is keeping a library of our wines. And trust me when I say that wasn't easy, especially in the early years. Every case I didn't sell was income I didn't have coming in. But I've worked at so many other wineries, and there was always a frustration that not only did we not have library wines to taste from an educational perspective, but we didn't have library wines to capitalize on incredible opportunities. You have a Michelin star restaurant that comes to you and wants to put a vertical of your wines on the list, or wants to pour a 20-year-old Zinfandel, and if you don't have a library, you can't do that. And one of a really proud moment for us was, Single Thread, our local 3-star Michelin restaurant, in 2021, I believe, poured our 2003 Zinfandel with one of their pairings during the winter menu.
Nice.
And I mean, what an incredible honor to have a 3-star Michelin restaurant feature one of your Zins with their food and wine pairing. So it's great to showcase that in this room. And I say it's a very passive education for how long we've been doing this.
For your tasting room here, is this the kind of tasting room where somebody can kind of just walk on in? Do you have to have an appointment? How does it work here?
We like to say that we are reservation reservation preferred, not necessary. So think of it as a great restaurant. If you walk into a great restaurant at 7 o'clock on Friday night, probably not going to be able to get a table, but the response is usually, I don't have a table now, but I might have a table in 30 minutes. You go to that same restaurant at 5 o'clock on a Tuesday evening, probably going to have a table for you. So we take that same approach. There are times when we are completely booked and we cannot accommodate a walk-in, but as long as we aren't completely booked and we're staffed appropriately, we welcome walk-ins. We would prefer if you make a reservation, because that just helps us to cater your experience here to what you're looking for.
For our listeners who'd like to learn more about you, your family, and the winery and the wine you make, what is your website?
Our website is www.mauritsonwines.com. That's MAURITSONWINES.com.
Clay, this is a real pleasure. I met you originally at the barrel auction last year. No, it was a charity auction, now that I think about it. And I'm glad I got a chance to catch up with you. Thank you for taking the time. I appreciate it.
It's a pleasure to be on the podcast. Thank you.